Women and families in Alabama must have these rights, and that's why I'm supporting my friend Marilyn Lands. I trust Marilyn to defend our freedom in the State House.
There are real consequences to politicizing reproductive health care. All across the country, extremists are pushing for new and cruel ways to restrict women's freedoms. These politicians do not understand or care about women's health, but I do.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for Yellow Hammer Now. Let's talk a little bit about the District 10 election that is taking place today in North Alabama. It does have a pretty interesting race after all. Marilyn Lands, she is a progressive Democrat, self-described, making run for a seat that she already lost. She lost the seat by a couple of points. There was a Libertarian involved in the race as well in a general election. The individual who won the race did not live in the district, and David Cole ended up going to jail, losing his seat, and this becoming a special election. So according to Lands, this is a pretty good pickup for her because there'll be a different electorate out there, meaning less people, and if she can get more of her people to show up when less people show up, then she'll have a better chance of winning. So how is she trying to motivate people? Well, that's where my problem exists. Now, I think most people watching this probably know that I am a pro-choice Republican conservative talk show host who believes that abortion should be legal and rare, and the state has the right to ban them if they want. Now, it's confusing for a lot of people to get their minds around, but it is what it is. The endorsement of Planned Parenthood for someone like me is a deal breaker. Planned Parenthood is an extremist organization. You're going to hear that word a lot. I'm using it intentionally, not because I think it's a good explainer, but because people like to weaponize words, and I figure I'll do it here as well. Planned Parenthood says no exceptions. Abortions need to go on until the birth of the child, up to 9 months. Now, do most people do that? No, but isn't it a bit insane that people running for office can't say that that's a bad position? And I look, Marilyn Lands has never once said, I don't know if she's even been asked by members of the media, hey, where do you draw the line on abortion? Because they don't like asking that question because they know the answer. They don't draw the line. If you don't specifically say where the line is, you don't have a line on this particular issue. And Marilyn Lands falls into that group. Now, she was getting an endorsement from a doctor, and she went on to attack basically half of the state, which I think that was a pretty bold call. Check it out.
The right to reproductive health care is under attack here in Alabama. Politicians are forcing a no exceptions abortion ban on women and even assaulting IVF. There's no question in my mind we haven't seen the last attack on our rights. Even the right to contraception is at risk in Alabama. As a physician, I've worked with thousands of patients, and let me tell you, contraception is health care. It's a family planning tool. It saves the lives of women with high-risk complications, empowers women to make their own choices on when or whether to start a family, and is the best way to prevent the need for abortions. Women and families in Alabama must have these rights, and that's why I'm supporting my friend Marilyn Lands. I trust Marilyn to defend our freedom in the State House.
There are real consequences to politicizing reproductive health care. All across the country, extremists are pushing for new and cruel ways to restrict women's freedoms. These politicians do not understand or care about women's health, but I do. We must be proactive to protect the right to contraception, and if I'm elected, that's exactly what I'll do.
There's that word again, extreme, and not really understanding what it means. There are not many people, and it surely is not a majority of Republicans, that believe that all abortion should be banned under any circumstance. That's just not the case. So calling them extremists, I think, is a bit ridiculous. But understand this. If you are against banning any abortions, they will brand you an extremist. It just depends on the particular situation we are dealing with right now. This is sort of the whole argument here in the race. Abortion is good. Vote for me. That's why you're starting to see endorsements from outside of the state. And I'm not just talking about Doug Jones. I am talking about different groups that have endorsed her, money that has come in for her. Why? Because they would love to see a red district in a supermajority Republican state fall to a pro-abortion Democrat. It will motivate them to push this issue further and further in general elections across this country. Now, again, that's bad for this country. Let's just make that as clear as it possibly could be. Move aside all the positions on abortion on that particular issue. But that is the main only issue here. Now, there's also some other issues she's wrong on. Let's look at guns here for a second. She wants to ban all assault weapons. But what does that mean? Well, it's not really described very well anywhere. It's just something she says and she wants done. Can you explain what an assault rifle is? Anyone? Well, according to most people, it's those black scary guns. You know, the ones that fire exactly the same way hunting rifles do, semi-automatic, magazine fed. You will find the same thing in a wood-paneled hunting rifle as you will in an AR-15. So I need you to do a little bit better in explaining exactly what you want to do, and nobody really seems interested in doing that. So that leads me to believe that they want to ban all semi-automatic weapons, and that is a bad call. So no on that as well. Look, this race boils down to this. Is District 10 going to be a progressive, liberal, blue district? The answer to that is probably not. Teddy Powell, the Republican candidate in this seat, has been on the city council in Madison, a very large portion of this district and population center in this particular race. That district, well, it is more liberal than most in North Alabama and Alabama as a whole. It has been relatively successful with conservative philosophies, and Teddy Powell definitely falls into that category. Now, the real question here is this. What is the message that is going to be sent tomorrow? Will we send the message that progressivism works even in the reddest of states, or will we push back against the national move to make everything about abortion? Those are your options. You can weigh it any way you want, and you can even be pro-choice and say, well, I don't want this to be the main issue. It's not my only issue. Teddy Powell has talked about local issues like roads and infrastructure, development taxes, etc., things that have made Madison a strong district. If you want to make Alabama Madison, then yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and let's see that benefit the state across the board. But again, the battle is on. The polls will be open by the time you see this, and if you live in this district, you should think about where you're voting and why you're voting, and make that decision. If you are informed, get out there and cast that vote, and make sure that you don't give a big win to the progressive wing and allow them to run around waving the flag and saying, see, everybody loves abortion, because we're going to get enough of that. We don't want to give them any proof of concept here in the great state of Alabama.